That's warm. Hey?
You're opening up your oven at home and walking in your oven at home.
That's right. Yep. That's like walking in your oven at home. Now, is that propane or that must be propane?
Gas.
It's gas fired, yeah. So he's gonna set this up. So you set your timer on it?
I put the timer on for 10 minutes.
Okay.
So now I'll just wait 10 minutes.
That's right. So we're gonna wait for 10 minutes. He's got the timer on.
He's doing the color change over there, so.
Right on. He's putting the other color on, which is gonna be a semi-gloss black.
Semi-gloss black, yep.
Right on. Skidoo's gonna be jealous. They're gonna see this old machine all nice and running good and looking pretty sharp. They're gonna want to bring those back into production.
We had a lot of fun on them.
Yeah. So now he just purges that, cleans that all up.
He's just giving us the booth a quick cleaning.
It's very clean, as it is, eh?
You can actually, powder can be reused only because we use so many colors in a day that you have to, if we were to say black,
you'd have to pull it
if
out.
we're spraying black, we've got to clean the whole booth. We've got to clean all the filter systems out and everything. Everything's got to be spotless, okay? So it's not economical for the amount of powder that we're wasting doing a job. It's not economical. But on big production plants where they're running, say, black all day and white the next day, they have reclaim systems that they reclaim all the powder. They've actually had that you can do a color change in a couple of minutes.
Wow.
On the big system, but I'm talking like $1 million spray booths and collector systems.
Yeah. So very efficient. Like if you think about it, if you really want to get in right down to it, you know, it's an efficient system.
It is like on the big jobs like that. I would say it'd be more efficient than the wet paint because you'll be using all your waste again.
Okay. It's still kind of, it's hard to get in your head around that it's not a can of paint. What's that?
Paint clean off your skin that easy?
Well, really, I was just like, oh, I wonder how hard it is for him to get cleaned up at the end of the day. You know, it's not that hard at all, really, right? It's just powder.
I wash my hands more here than I do in a restaurant.
Oh, yeah?
Because I go to paint black. If I left the gray on me, you're getting gray in the black.
You know what? And this is pretty. Even the cleanup, you know, all your little fittings and all that wouldn't get clogged with paint like it would normally with the wet paint.
The metallics, you have to do a bit more cleaning in the metallics because they will cling to everything. The ordinary paints, no. They clean up how they quickly. It's just a matter of blowing yourself off.
Yeah. Look at that. That was just magic right there. Can't do that with paint. That's amazing. Now it actually looks like a hardened, cured paint. Not a powder on there anymore. So now he's going to...
Now he's going to put the top coat on. Now, this can be done either hot or cold. But as I said before, if you put it on hot, it'll just, in this condition, it'll be better because you'll get it on a little bit thicker. You'll end up putting about 4 mils on it rather than 2.5.
Okay.
Okay. And on this case, it'll just give it that extra bit of protection, so it'll last that much longer.
Okay, cool.
And because it's going on in all one coat, you've got good bonding there.
Now you've been in the business since '72. So how many years?
Well, I've been in the painting business. I started powder coating about 1984.
Oh wow. Okay. So then you transitioned from there into the office.
Yep.
Good. I really appreciate you guys doing this. This is a great thing. Educational component to it.
Yeah, it's surprising. Like powder coating has been around since I believe in the 50s, but still a lot of people don't know it's out there
Yep.
and don't know what it can do. When we do our railings, I get a lot of people that saying that they're so expensive. But I tell them, it's not, you can't look at it as a one-shot deal. You go down to the hardware store, buy a can of Tremclad, and you're painting your railing for what I would charge you, say, $300 for, you paint it for about $60. It's going to take you a couple of days, and then you're going to have a nice railing. But next year, you'll be doing that railing again.
That's right.
It's going to cost you another $60, and instead of being at the cottage,
And it won't look the same. It won't look near as good.
same.
Yeah.
And instead of being at the cottage, you're painting your railing again.
That's right.
Third year down the road, you're doing the same thing again. Well, as with mine, 6 years from now, you're still going to the cottage because your railing is still in good shape.
Yep.
But you got to look at it as a long powder coating in those instances is an investment in your house. You don't buy cheap paint for the inside of the house because it's cheap. You want a good job, so you use the best. You get the best. Do the same on your outside products.
Now, is there a clear powder coat?
Clear, yes. I can show you samples of the clear. I actually have a job later on that we're doing this clear.
Yeah. So you could you do aluminum rim with that?
You can, but there again, you run through the problem is that on aluminum, to do it in a clear, you want to buff it to a shine.
Oh, yeah.
Then you want to put the clear on top. Well, now you're making a surface that the paint's not going to want to bond to.
Right.
You'll see the rims that a lot of the new rims on vehicles, they're painted, and then they've got areas that are machined.
Yep.
Well, that's what they do. They paint
the
them.
whole thing and then
They paint them, then they machine them, and then they put a clear. But you'll notice it's always the clear that goes first.
That's right.
Why? Because they don't get good adhesion. Where the powder is, where the colored powder is, chances are
it's going to last for a very long time.
it does. And even when we get them here, we have a hard time getting it off because the adhesion is so good. But where the clear is, it flies up. A lot of times it's already so corroded in there that you can't put a clear over top of it.
Yeah. Wow, that looks awesome. So now this is, you call this the top coat.
Yeah.
This is the last coat.
This is the last coat.
This
You can, if you wanted to, put a clear over top of that,
No
but
sense.
there's no need to.
No. And this has UV protectant in it.
This is an outdoor powder. It's made for outdoor UVs. Yeah.
So now it's going to go in the oven for how long?
It'll go in for about 40 minutes.
About 40 minutes. Same temperature?
Same temperature.
Same temperature.
The temperature doesn't have to change. It's just your time in the oven has to
Okay.
change. With an exception, we have a high heat the powder that has to bake at 425. So for that, we got to keep the temperature all the way up.
Okay.
Now, one of the problems, like I said, with powder has its own problems. Now, you look at that and say, wow, that looks great. But if there is oil, let's say down where the forks go through, okay? Even though we blasted and tried to clean it as best we could,
Yep.
there could be oil in there or grease in there,
Yeah.
and grease is very hard to get out. But in the oven,
It'll flow.
it'll flow out, so it'll leave a line of grease, which you won't see until the product is done.
Right. So we gotta, before we bring this kind of stuff in, we have to do our best to make sure
Yeah.
that that is clean.
And make sure that's all clean. But
Yeah.
even having said that, it's it could get into a little crack that you don't see,
Right.
and we don't see it. And like I say, I've seen it happen on a lot on the snowmobile, on the suspension parts. They're really bad for that.
Right.
They have a lot of grease,
Yeah.
and you can't clean them out.
Yeah. I
And
can see
you
that.
paint it, everything looks real nice. You look the piece over, and oh no, there's a grease mark right down the whole
No
thing.
way.
But it's it's one of those things. And even as far as now this isn't going to be so bad, but when we're doing like a railing, okay, the top of the handrail has got to be nice, you know.
Right.
But there could be one piece of wood that maybe got stuck on it. You don't see it until after it's baked.
Right. Okay, well, this is a good point. Okay, let's say that there was a big blotch in the middle of that.
Yep.
Can you sandblast that blotch and then just fix that spot, or the whole?
You have to do the whole thing.
You have to do the whole thing.
Unlike automotive paints, you can blend it in.
Yeah.
This one you can't. We have tried successfully on polishing some of the paints. There are a couple of colors that it worked out not too bad, but overall, no. We just didn't have enough of a success on it to say, yeah, we're going to do this all the time.
And the product is so well, and it's brand new. It's got to be hard to take all that off and go through all that again.
It is. Like once, if we had to blast this off now, it took about 20 minutes to take the first coat off.
Yeah.
When we first brought it in here, and now I bet you'd be looking. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2 hours or plus.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm sure this will turn out just fine. Well, I can't wait to see that when it comes out. It's going to look pretty tight.
We've done a couple of them already.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Now, typically speaking, what would an average cost of something like this be?
The blast, the prime and paint a tunnel like this, you're looking between $450 and $550.
Okay, well worth it. I've restored a lot of these, and I've gone through the sandblasting route and then painting it myself route, and it was just, I wish I'd never done it that way, because it rusts within a year.
Yeah. What's happening is the paint's going through the easiest spot.
Right.
Okay, so those corners and cracks, you really have to pay attention to it.
Right.
So let's get it now. Put the light so it's nice and
Okay. Yep.
And you can take the powder off.
Yep. That's just powder.
So that's
Just like flour.
well, that is why we don't. You notice there's not a lot of air movement in here.
Yep.
Because air movement will actually knock the powder off before it gets in the oven.
Ah, okay. All right, so that's going in for 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
And now we're gonna fully bake that chassis.
Now it'll be fully baked. When it comes out, it'll be fully baked. And once it's cooled, you can do whatever you want to. There's no waiting. There's no gel time or set time.
It's good to go.
Once it's cooled, you do whatever you want to it.
Right on. Well, you always gotta have your Skidoo chassis fully baked.
Yep.
Yep, no half baked. All right, let's get her done. Bam. Look at that. Checking that out. Wow, look at that. Wow. Okay, you can see a few ripples from my welding. It's a very thin tunnel. So as soon as you put the heat to it, it's about half the thickness of a newer Elan tunnel. Man, that's hot. But it's only a semi-gloss, so it's gonna actually start to dull out here in a few minutes. Actually, it is already. That's funny. That's good. The seat's gonna be over top of that. Wow, that looks amazing. Sweet. So that's it, Kent?
That's it. Now once it's cooled, you can do what you want with it.
That's amazing.
It'll probably take, in this temperature, it'll take about a half an hour, but we can open the door so it'll cool off faster.
Right on. Right on. Then it's back in the truck and back to the shop. So let's go wrap things up in the office. Got to thank you very much. This was a very educational process. And I know all of our viewers are going to love to see this whole thing and how everything worked out. And you're very good in your description, and you know, you told us exactly how everything went down.
Well, I'm glad I could help out. Like I say, I do have the people that work on their own projects, and if I can help them out, I'm always glad to help them out.
I've seen the finished product, so we know everything's worked out right. It's awesome. We're going to bring that home to the shop. We're going to start the build now. It's going to be a whole build series, probably 20, 30 videos in this whole thing, and put it all back together, and we'll send you a nice picture to put on your wall.
Well, I appreciate that.
You know, you guys have been great to deal with this, because I know they're very busy here. They have a whole bunch of stuff just constantly streaming through here. It's just like a conveyor belt. It keeps going.
Yes, it is,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff. We never know what we're going to get here day to day.
What's coming in the door. But it is good to point out to everybody that, you know, like you were saying earlier, if somebody has, you know, a railing for their house that they need sandblasted and cleaned up, sometimes you just run to the store, you grab the trim clad and the paintbrush, you go home, you spend a weekend painting it all up. It'll last a year, it'll look good for a couple of weeks, then it's going to start to fade really quickly, and then it's going to rust. I've been there, I've done it. If you put out a little bit more expense, you get something like this done, it's going to last
You
you.
have to look at it as an investment in your home, especially with railings and that, because you can spend a lot of time when you should be at the cottage or
That's right.
out on the holidays, or
Yep.
repainting or something, that if you just put a little bit more into it, it will last you for years.
Well, and even this snowmobile tunnel, like that, as it lasted 40 years, kind of, you know, the rust started to go through.
Actually, it's a funny thing, because I did have a client that last year, but this time of year, she had a railing, and she was painting it outside, and I told her, you know, at least if anything, wait until the spring, because it's too cold, the paint's not going to dry, it's going to freeze rather than dry. And I said, well, she says, powder coating is too expensive. I said, you're going to be seeing me in 3 years' time anyways. Well, by April, she had called me and said, I need your help.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
people, basically, if I can say one thing, no matter whether you're powder coating or wet painting, the prep, and it's the most important part. It will make the job either look good or look like crap.
Yeah,
If you don't have time to spend doing the prep, give it to somebody who can.
right on. And you're the guys. I got to thank you, Kent.
Thank you.
We'll be talking to you again, and let's get that thing home. Get her together.
You to come, I'll make it impossible.